You're listening to She Speaks, a Let Her Speak podcast that celebrates women's fearlessness, resiliency, and readiness to change the world.
My name is Jasmine Newton. I'm a portrait photographer for Javon Renee Portraits. And the word that I would describe the last 2 years would be bittersweet.
And I just want everybody, though, to know the other word that you're going to use to describe the last 2 years.
I want to hear the other one. That would be the other word.
And I feel that is very accurate. I think everybody's brains at one point in the last 2 years, but probably many, many points was,
Yes, that is the word. It's because there's so many things that happen.
Yeah. And I feel like that word also helps to release some things that have been just bottled up in us for the last 2 years. So that's why I really like that word, because it forces you to release something too, as you're saying it, however long you need to say it for it. So the last time we talked was about a year ago, and it was, if I remember right, it was right in the middle of when you were really, really busy. You had so many things going on, like you barely had time to rest. You were just going from one shoot to the other. And you were booking out really far in advance. And I know part of what happened and the realization that you came to as a business owner. But I would love for you to share what happened since we last talked about Jasmine.
So, yes, I was really busy. I was booking way ahead. I was about 2 or 3 months ahead. And it was great. It was awesome because, you know, ever since I started my business back in 2015, like that's the dream, right? That's what I want to get to. That's exactly where I want to be. And it was great until my body was like, no, I don't want to do this. And I wasn't, it just came out of the blue. It was literally like, I'm busy. I'm going from meeting to meeting, shoot to shoot. And I've got all these things in the burner. I got all these spoons in the pot, you know, and everything's looking great, smelling good. The aroma is just great. You can tell it's a nice soup that I'm making. And it just stopped. I just went to sleep one day and woke up the next exhausted, and my body just would not move. I wasn't sure what to do with that, and it kind of freaked me out because it wasn't like I didn't love what I was doing. It wasn't like all of a sudden I hated a certain aspect of what I absolutely loved what I was doing, but something obviously needed to change. And it took me a while to figure out what that was, because there were multiple things that caused me to shut down. And I had to go through the process of figuring out what those things were.
And I think it's really important to point out, because if, remembering, you know, your story of talking about how you arrived at starting your own business with Javon Renee, and the story that you were fired from your position, but then you fell into something that you absolutely loved and that lit you up and that you enjoyed doing. And I think it's so important for people to understand the realities of doing something that you love does not mean that you will not burn out on it. And that when things are going really well from the outside perspective, I'm sure everybody was like, she is on fire. That woman is doing everything. She's achieved the dream. I think even you've talked about that you felt like you climbed the mountain and you were at the top of your mountain, only to realize that there was an even bigger mountain behind you that you didn't even realize was there until you got to the top. So what, you know, what did you process through, and how did you work through everything that was happening, of this feeling of accomplishment and success, but at the same time, I can't move another muscle or do another thing right now?
It was a lot that I had to process because, like I said, it was multiple things. First of all, that were bothering me mentally. It was overwhelm. It was exhaustion. It was, how can I maintain this and still climb that second mountain? Because it took literally everything in me to get here. You know, when they say you got to give it your all. And it's like, yeah, I'm literally giving it my all. This is my all. This is all I have to give. Oh, and here's this other mountain. Now you have to climb that and still maintain what you did. But this was my all right here. What more all am I supposed to pull from to get up here? What? How am I supposed to do that? And then, of course, you know, we talk a lot about imposter syndrome and am I enough? Just trying to build from scratch, just trying to build that first level of stability, that foundation around what you're trying to do. But then let's say you built that and you got the house, right? You built the foundation, you got the doors, the windows, the walls, the house, but now it's time to go and build another bigger and better house. Maybe the first house was a one-story house and yeah, you went through all the struggles of figuring out how to build that, and that's great. Now, great. This is a beautiful house. Now go build a two-story house. Oh, do I know how? Do I know how to do a two-story? I've never done a two-story house before. Like, it's that type of fear all over again, and it's a little bit different because now I don't really feel like I deal with imposter syndrome, but I deal with the, okay, can I do the bigger thing? Like, this was hard enough. Can I do the harder? And then there was a lot of things politically that bothered me, that were getting to me at that time. Some things, especially now, still get to me. When you feel like there's things that are happening around you that you feel helpless against, you feel like there's your world, right, where everything is great, especially when it comes to your, maybe your family, your safe space, your friends. But then there's this other society where things are happening to people or laws are being made, and that affects your mental as well. So trying to maintain all of that and thinking about all of that, how does a person not get exhausted or overwhelmed? And how does a person's body not say, you know what, we ain't doing this today. We're just going to lay down. But my body didn't do it for a day. My body did it for months, like from May 2021 all the way to October 2021. I pretty much stayed in a bed. I did not do anything unless it was already on the books. I didn't schedule anything new. I didn't try to market or advertise. I didn't network. And there wasn't really a lot of networking going on because of COVID, but it was like unless it was already on the books, I didn't do it. And it would literally be like, go to a meeting, have the meeting, smile and da 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 da, do the photo shoot, come home, get back in the bed, get up. If I have something to do that day, go to that, do that, handle that, get back in the bed. So
So the you're I loved that metaphor of the building the different houses, because I mean, one thing that I was wondering as you were talking about that piece is, is it you that is telling yourself that you need to build the second house because the first house isn't enough? Or is it outside forces around you that, this insistence that you should always be trying to achieve something bigger? No matter where you're at, you should always be trying to do something bigger or something better, quote unquote better.
I think for me, it's a mixture of both. On one hand, I'm a dreamer. I am continuously dreaming of things to do. I'm ambitious. I always got some. I can't sit still. My mama raised me to, she's just, you're going to grow up and you're going to do amazing things. And so I automatically aspire to do more. And it's not just for self. It's not like for the glory. I want the glory. I want the power. It's not like that. But like, yes, when it comes to me, I'm very, I do know exactly what I want as far as my legacy for, like Jasmine did this while she was here on this earth. And that for me in this moment is I want to be a photographer until I kick the bucket. I want to be a person that gives back and reaches back and helps other women in business, other Black-owned businesses. I want to be that person or supply that place where people feel like they can get education and resources and it helps them get a leg up. I want to be that person. I also want to start, hopefully, and every time I think about it, I always think about it like I'm old doing this. In my head, I can only picture myself old and gray, cutting the ribbon on a creative school that I have opened. And it's for creatives. Everything under the realm of being a creative, you can learn there. And I've had that dream since I was 14 years old. That and raising my kids would be my legacy, right? But when it comes to outside of what I want for myself, like society and all of that, I really just want to be a person that in my own little way and in my own little corner of the world that left some sort of ripple where once I entered this earth, I left it a better way than the way that I found it. That's what I would like to do. And that, I guess, causes me to want to always do more, want to always do something bigger than just what I want in my little life.
And that's completely understandable. And I remember you talking about that, the school, the creative school, and just how beautiful of a dream that is, which I feel like you could do before you turn gray. But depending on what COVID did, maybe there's some grays there that
It may take a while because I have no clue how you even start a school. Like, I have no clue. But for some reason, it's there and it's been there. And I don't know if I'm going to accomplish that or not, but it's seriously something that I always see. It's like one of the last things that I do,
yeah.
which is crazy.
It would be, it's such a cool thing. And I could absolutely understand that wanting to be like, all right, I did this thing. Now this is the highest monument of achievement that I can leave, is that I have built this thing that will stay long after, because obviously your photography is going to withstand, for eternity. It's always going to be out there. Everybody's going to have these photographs that they pass down to their families and they become heirlooms, because I know that's a big part of why you love portraiture, is that it's all about celebrating that person and having them have something that they can pass on to other family. So I feel like this is just like, all of your legacy, there's this heart behind it of wanting to ensure that there are facets of you that remain long after you're gone. I mean, would that be fair to say? Yeah,
Yes.
that there's these like tangible things that are like, that's Jasmine, that's Jasmine, that's Jasmine,
Right.
and you're felt and seen in all of these different spaces.
Right. I definitely want that because I want my descendants to see that. I think it would be cool to look back and see, oh, that was my great great grandmother, Jasmine Newton, and man, she was freaking cool. Like, she did this, she did that, and maybe that will inspire them, but also going back to that question you asked me when I said it's actually kind of both me and other. I also have other people that come and say, you should be a speaker. You should do this. You should, we need a workshop from you. And it kind of like, it's like, oh, you think I should do that? I think I would like to do that. So it's a little bit of both, like things that I want to do and things that other people say, you would really be great doing. And it may have been something I may not even thought about. And I'm all up for trying things and see if I like it. And if I do, well, guess what? Now I got something else that I do, but when you, like I said, when you add all of those things in and when you think about all the things that it takes to do these things, to do photography, to become a speaker, to start a school, it's so big. And so, yeah, looking at the 2-story house, I am kind of like, yo, listen, how am I supposed to build this house?
Well, I think maybe part of it is that you don't have to do the 2-story by yourself. I think that's a big part of that question too, because I for a lot of what you've done, I mean, obviously you haven't been completely alone, but it has been very much you doing a lot of all of the things to get Javon Renee to where it is right now. And I think that's what a lot of us, especially women I know, because we're all like, we can do this, we're strong, we can go out, we can do it. And, asking, we don't necessarily feel weak asking for help, but it's more of like, why ask for help when I know I'm capable of doing this? But are there like elements of that too? Like when you're envisioning building this school, do you envision you and a team, or is it like Jasmine's building the house, the foundation, putting in the plumbing and opening up the school?
I would very much like a team because I'm all about community and collaboration and all of that. But here's the thing. I am a Black woman in America. And there are difficult things that I deal with as a Black woman in America, things that I have to be aware about, things that I have to walk around and see and notice. One of the things that's hard for me is asking. Not because I don't want to ask, not because I don't see the importance in asking and having that team and having help so you don't feel alone. I very much want that. But a lot of times asking, especially for Black women, has been weaponized against us. Where you ask and there's strings attached to that person who helps. And it comes back and goes, oh, remember when I helped you out? Remember? So now you owe me this. Or you're lazy because you asked. Or you're not as good as you think you are because you asked and you needed help. There are so many ways in which I feel Black women have been pushed to have to do things themselves because whether they have, in different situations, asked from their mates, asked from their friends, or asked for this country, we've been made to feel bad for asking. And we should have just done it ourselves. And so we've gotten used to just doing it ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I've talked about this topic with a few women that I'm friends with, a few Black women that I'm friends with, because there's these other elements too of accepting help from certain people has the strings attached of they want like a photo opportunity to do this, of showing like, look how great I am. I'm helping out this Black woman. And then you also have the issue of the archetype or the trope of the strong female Black person who, she can do everything. She can't, and for her to show any weakness isn't. And so it very much works that, quite a few Black women end up burning out. But you also have a lack of places you can go to ask for help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't mean this to say that white women or Asian women or any other type of woman doesn't go through that same thing. Like there's different things that we go through. I just think when it comes to asking, I've just, in my own experience, watching all the Black women in my family, it always has seemed to be like, okay, I just got to do it myself. I just got to do it myself. I'm not going to get no help. Anytime I try to get help, this is what happens. So I'm just going to do it myself. And I've seen other people be able to navigate that particular thing a little bit easier. So I've always wondered about that, but it does make it hard to ask.
Yeah. I mean, I
And when
completely
you go
understand.
through the things that come back on you because you ask, and you try to explain how something hurt you because of that. This hurt when you made it, when you assumed I was lazy, or this hurt when you assumed that I don't need help because I'm this strong person or whatever. You get gaslit.
Oh, yeah.
So you feel like you can't really say your experience. Are you sure it was that? Maybe it wasn't that. And it's like, listen, I know what I was experiencing. So yeah, that makes it hard.
Yeah, that is, I mean, the most difficult thing with unconscious bias is inherently it's in the name of it's unconscious. So for you to call it out to someone, they're not conscious that that is what it is. So of course their knee-jerk reaction most of the time is going to be, no, I didn't. I didn't do that. That's not how it came across. And a lot of times, at least in the situations I've been in, where I hear women saying these things out loud to someone else that has caused harm in some way, is that it's not until maybe sometimes the second woman points it out to them that looks more like the person who caused the harm, or sometimes it takes the sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th person for them to finally admit, oh, I was in the wrong. This was me not perceiving my own bias. But it's unfortunate that it takes, a stack of people sometimes for
Well, it's
someone to
hard.
realize it.
It's hard to, I mean, listen, I don't like it when the mirror is shown to me either. But I've gotten to the point where I'm learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like, and that's such a awesome place to be in when it comes to your growth, but it's a painful place to be in. It's a shocking place to be in. Sometimes it's an embarrassing place to be in. Like, that was me. I did that. Nah, I ain't do that. I'm not that. Because we have our own idea of what type of person we are. Like, I feel like in our heads we have this. Let's just picture a cartoon, right? And there's this cartoon of us that we would draw, and it's who we think we are. But then if you were to listen to how people talk about you when you're not in the room and tweak your little cartoon based on what they say, you might be happy with it, or you might not like that. So when you see the cartoon change based on how other people see you, based on your actions, based on how you've been perceived, will you take that and go, that's not me, and ignore it? Or would you look at something and go, I can see how they came to that. Let's see if there's a way for me to adjust. Or maybe there's no need for you to adjust. Maybe you wholeheartedly accept it and that's just who you are. It's a hard place to be in, and it's a very vulnerable place to be in. But for me, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a glutton for, punishment or whatever. But I like knowing the good and bad, even though it can be hard. I like knowing because it helps me grow. It helps me be better. And I want to know how I'm affecting other people. I want to know if I'm coming off a way that I didn't even think about because of my own bias or my own upbringing. I want to know. And I want to see, what do I think about that? Should I change it or not?
Yeah, at least for my type of personality, which is very much I cannot do just fluffy conversations.
Oh no, I can't
No,
do that.
can't do small talk. I can't. Oh, drives me nuts. And so what the space that you're talking about, I mean, it's the space of just honesty and openness, and trying to empathize with that person in front of you. And that when you know that the honesty is coming from a place of care and love, and they're just saying what they're seeing and what they're perceiving, it's a beautiful space. And it absolutely can be a very push and pull of like, you're constantly opening yourself up to, you don't know what's coming at you necessarily, but it is a space that I think a lot of really, really important changes and conversations come out of.
And the funny thing is, I've been going through that continuously in my business journey. Like, okay, we grow up. We spend our lives growing up and going through different stages. But the most growth for me seems to have been happening as I'm growing my business. It's so weird how my business journey seems to attribute so much to my personal growth. Like, I always looked at that stuff as, oh, that's separate. You got your personal side, you got your business side.
Oh, we cannot put ourselves in those buckets.
But the woman I am today versus the woman I was 5, 10, 15 years ago, I attribute much of that to my business journey. And it's so cool to me. But how do you prepare somebody for that when they're about to, I want to be an entrepreneur? And you're like, okay. You about to have a whole bunch of whole bunch of stuff that you're gonna have to face and go through and change, and you're gonna have to think, possibly go through imposter syndrome and figure out what that's about, and valuing yourself and figure out what that's about, and exhaustion and your mental capacity for things and boundaries and
I know.
And that's why when I said you have the small house and you're dealing with certain things in the small house, and then you have the bigger house that's going to have even more things to face, even more things to deal with. So for me, it's not just about building it. It's also about the things I have to go through in it while I'm building it. There's this show. I can't remember. I don't know what network the show is on. I don't even know if it's still on, but I saw my mom was watching it, and it was these two guys that would go and they would like flip houses. I believe they were in like Detroit or something. And while they're flipping the house, like they would buy the house for cheap and they would do things to, renovate it and make it look great, and houses would look awesome. But while they were doing this renovation, they would live in the houses, which is so interesting to me. It's the first time I've seen that. How do you go and you just live in the house that you're renovating? But okay, you bought the house. Do what you do. But it's like that in a sense. Going back to the house analogy, that first house that I built, that one-story house that I built, I very much had to live in it. And that's where I did have to realize that I had imposter syndrome. I did have to realize that, no, Jasmine, you don't value yourself. That was a hard pill.
It's always a hard one.
I did have to realize that I had daddy issues. That was a hard pill. I thought I was over that. And all of this came from little things that I had to do and figure out within my business journey. And now that I feel like, okay, I'm looking at the house, it's all renovated and painted and looking good. And yeah, this is great. Okay, now you're getting ready to move out of that house and you're going to go to this decrepit looking second house that you have to rebuild from the ground up and renovate. And you have to live in it too. And it's like, I gave everything to that first house. Do I have it in me for the second house? It's hard, but it's what's on the other side. What's on the other side of how will I feel when I'm done with that second house? And behind it, will there be a mansion that I have to build? It's just one of those things.
Right. And I think too, just going into that metaphor too, is it really is, I think by nature of social media, you see a lot of facades that look absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And it's like, that is the facade that I want for my dream life, whatever that may be. It might be your career, it might be a business, whatever that is. What I think a lot of times people forget about is what's actually going on the inside of that. And so what you're talking about is like, you're focusing more on what's going on inside than the facade that's going on outside. As you were talking about that, it was making me think about, so I went to University of South Carolina and they have a Greek village there that are these gorgeous, gorgeous looking mansions on the outside. But if you ever go inside, what's really interesting is the first floor where they welcome guests in is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, regal Southern charm. You go upstairs to where the girls live and it looks like any other dorm with like beige walls, super plain, nothing going on. And I always felt like that was such a good metaphor for some of the issues of lack of authenticity and vulnerability and things like that. And I always felt like if I were to ever build a house like that for women, because these are sororities, and so a house for women, I would make the second floor as gorgeous as as beautiful of a space as I possibly can for the women who actually have to live in that house, because the guests will come and go, but it's the women that have to live in that really matter. And so I feel like it's a similar metaphor with the house that you're building for yourself, of you're the one that has to live in that house and has to deal with facing, the skeletons that are in the closet and the ghosts that are in the attic. So, thinking of it from now that we've gone down this road of this house metaphor, which I love because I love metaphors. I'm a big fan of metaphors, is, what kind of work have you done so far from May of 2021 until this point? So it's been about a year. What kind of work have you done on the inside of that house?
Boundaries. I've really had to be more strict about my boundaries and understand that no is a complete sentence, and I shouldn't feel bad when my answer is no. And I shouldn't be made to feel bad about it. I've learned that I'm a very emotional person. I didn't learn that. I knew that. I'm a Gemini. Come on.
You got multiple things
Yes,
going on.
I'm all over the place, but it's a superpower. My husband, he used to say to me, "Oh my God, you're so emotional." And in the past, not just from my husband, but from anybody that would say that to me, I always took that negatively. Like, okay, I need to stop being so emotional. I need to stop being so sensitive, But now I'm like, I am emotional. And you know what? That's half the reason why you love me, because I'm emotional, because I sense things and I feel things on a spiritual level, on an intuitive level that maybe you may not see. And it makes me be able to see a situation differently and know if something is bad or know if something is good on that level. So yes, I am emotional and I'm very proud of it because it's a super freaking power. I'm
Yeah, it
gonna keep
is.
being emotional. How about that? Right? So I'm learning to be very much okay with what I want, what I don't want, and learning to build boundaries around that. Another very hard lesson that I've had to learn is who my tribe is, who my friends are, who's for me, who's for me when I'm fun, right? Like when you're good and everything's going swell and you're the popular person to be around, and who's around whether you're popular or not, who's around when you're good or when you got snot slinging depressive, you like who's around then. That's been a very, very hard lesson. I have a hard time making friends. I have a hard time trusting. So once trust is broken or once friendships decline for whatever reason, it's a very, very hard pill for me to swallow. But I'm learning it. I'm also learning that I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. I'm learning that I have a lane, and I gotta know how to operate in it, and I gotta be okay with that being my lane. I don't have to be in somebody else's lane because they say I should be in it. So those are the things that I'm working on, and I'm also working on trying to be a little bit more. What is the word? The vocabulary is not coming to my head right now, but a little bit, there we go. A little bit more intentional about how I move and not feeling like I have to follow everybody's rules, right? Like we have rules. This is how you operate in social media. This is how you post. You should post every day. You should do this, or this is how you operate when it comes to marketing, or this is how you're supposed to do a photo shoot. And you know what? I There's a reason why people like things that are unique, right? You have uniformity, if that's even a word. Did I just make that word
No,
up?
no, no. That's a real word. That's a real word.
You have people who are the same, who follow the dotted line, who do things how it's always been done, traditional ways, and you have the people who are innovative and the people who push change and create new eras and make things better. I want to be in that lane. And it's the harder lane. Because a lot of times, whatever is new, whatever's going to be new, it's probably something that people haven't tried yet. So it's uncomfortable because you don't know if it's going to work. But I want to be in that lane.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that's so interesting to me with considering I'm surrounded by entrepreneurs all the time now. And quite a few of us came from corporate or came from, some other system, academic system, school system, healthcare system, but we all came from some kind of system that had this uniformity to it, that had this is how you act, this is what you say, this is the trajectory, this is how you jump levels or not jump level, whatever that is. And and then we started a business because we were like, well, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be in those kind of systems. And I see it all the time. And I mean, I've been guilty of it myself of we settle into the entrepreneur system of this is how an entrepreneur looks. This is how they act. This is how they post. This is the content that they do. And it's so formulaic. And sometimes we get so into the day to day that we forget to step back and be like, hold on. This is the reason that I've built something that I hate and that I don't want to get up to do anymore is because I started following the exact same system that I tried to escape from in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, I mean, how do you keep that in check for yourself?
So I think partially what we're hitting on is burnout. I didn't understand burnout. I thought burnout was just, oh, I'm not getting enough sleep, or I'm not getting enough of rest, and I'm just burning out. But burnout apparently is way deeper than that. So it also could mean that you're not doing what you actually want to do. Like that was brought to my attention, and it confused the heck out of me because I was like, wait a minute, I love photography. That's what I'm doing. I love doing this. What do you mean I'm doing something I don't want to do? Of course I want to do this. I built this, right? But when I actually sat down and thought about it and got comfortable with being uncomfortable, they were right. I was doing something I didn't want to do. I was saying yes to things I didn't want to say yes to because I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing as an entrepreneur. So to be specific with my situation, yes, I was doing photography. I was doing photo shoots and they were coming in and rolling in. But I got to a point where I was being doing the same thing over and over again, complacent in my creativity. Right? I wasn't pushing myself creatively. So it wasn't that I wasn't enjoying or liking the photo shoots that I did. It was that I wasn't setting aside any time to be creative outside of what clients wanted. So clients come in and they tell me, you know this process.
I do.
They tell me what they want, and I try my best to create that. But I had stopped having time for, okay, I have something in my head I want to do. Let me go and figure out how to do that. I have something in my head I want to create. How do I go about creating that? And I have that feeding me. And maybe even doing something creative from that off to the side feeds me creatively over here when I'm working with my clients. Because, oh, I figured out how to do this new thing. I can make this kind of set, or I can make this kind of backdrop, or I can add this as a prop, and I can put it in over here on the things that I'm doing day in and day out. So yes, I was doing what I loved, but I had taken out the creativity. I was just kind of knocking them in, knocking them out. You know how people say, you clock in, you clock out. You go in, you do your work, you go home. That's what I had created. So my body was like, yeah, nah, you're missing something, sis. This is not what you wanted. And I'm like, well, what is the problem? I'm telling you what the problem is. You're missing something. So now I'm trying to get back to the creativity. I have to set aside time to actually put myself out there and try some stuff that I don't know how to do. And I wasn't doing it because that's scary. I'm a perfectionist at heart. I don't want to do something I don't know how to do because I don't want to fall on my face and look stupid.
And yet you're in entrepreneurship.
Right? I think traditionalism, I think doing something over and over again, falling into this complacent, this routine, I think that's comfortable for us because it doesn't require as much work. We know how it will come out and we get comfortable with that, right?
Yep.
But then when we do it too much, routine has its place. I think we all need routine at some point. But when you do it too much, your body goes, what are we doing? Is this life right now? Right? Like, here's another analogy. Well, I don't know if it'll be an analogy, but here's another way to look at it. You remember back when a lot with the self-help gurus are talking about having a morning routine?
Yeah.
Remember that was a big thing?
Yeah. I thought that
Do
was
you
BS.
have your morning routine? What is your morning routine? I wake up with a cup of coffee and drink, or I cut up cucumbers and put it in my water every day. And then I get up and I write in my journal. Like,
I set my intentions. I work out for 30 minutes. I take
Right.
the dog out.
you had literal YouTube videos full of morning routines, and everybody's trying, I have to have my morning routine. My morning's not right unless I have a morning routine. My day is horrible unless I have my morning routine. Well, now, if you get a morning routine, and let's say you do make one, and I had a great morning routine. They do work, right? Like my whole day would be so productive with the morning routine that I had set up. But the thing is, if you do that for a certain amount of times, and everybody's different, you do it for a week, you do it for 4 weeks, you do it for a year, you do it for 5 years. There's something in you that's going to crack and go, listen, this routine is too routine. I need you to do something different because now I'm bored. I think human beings in our core, we need a sense of action. We need a sense of creativity. We need some passion. We need,
Spontaneity.
yes.
Yeah.
And if we cut that out, whether we do it in our work, in our relationships, in our lives, and anything, there's going to be something that cracks and goes, nah, we ain't doing this today. And you're going to be sitting there like, what's the problem? We are not doing this today. You're going to have to figure something out because we ain't doing this.
Well, and routine lends itself to, I'm very much if I'm doing the same thing over and over again, I'm going to have the same ideas every
Right.
single time. And so that's why I was never really big into the morning routine, because I was like, you know what, some days, like the day that we're recording this podcast, it was really rainy this morning. And whenever it's a rainy morning, I always change up whatever I had been doing that week because usually my morning routine changes from week to week, but it's like I sit and I just listen to the rain and just like, it was like for 2 hours this morning, I actually just took in this storm because I love rain so much and
That
it
is so
sparks new
cool. I like
things.
that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like whenever it rains, it's like I want to be present with this rain because I love rain so much and I love to be around it. So that's why like routines for one thing are just like they're bad for me. I know they are. I get no new ideas or good ideas if I just keep doing it the same
It
way.
pushes you.
Yeah.
I had a client recently, and I'm thinking she's gonna be the norm that I get. I want some branding photos, and I want you to do this, or I want some personal portraits, and I want you to do this. And she was like, "Yeah, I want some. Do whatever you want to do, huh? You want what now? Do whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do with me. I'm leaving it up to you." And I hadn't had anybody ask me to do that in a little while. It's not like it's never happened before, but it had been a while. And my brain was like, what? So, but I did it. It was so fun. It was scary too, because I had no clue what I was going to do. Like that's the first time in a while that I come to a photo shoot and I have no clue what we're going to do. I mean, we had most of the outfits planned, but there was just one particular outfit I didn't know. We didn't know until we did it. And it was the favorite outfit out of the
Oh, I
out of the
bet.
shoot.
Yeah.
But she pushed me. She literally put her foot up and pushed me with it. And I needed it, and it inspired me. The other thing was getting back around people, getting back around a certain energy that inspires me creatively. That's also something that I've had to get back into doing. COVID caused us to have to shut down and go in our houses and not be around people. That hurt us. So I didn't realize, because first of all, I love being at home. Like when we had to shut down, like I was worried about my business, but I was like, yeah, I'm so for staying at home. Like this is my favorite place to be. But when I finally started going around other people, it was like some of the people that I'm around, their creativity or their energy is like a zing. You feel that? That's called positivity. Remember that? That's creativity. That is, all these things that I was missing during that shutdown or during the time where we weren't networking in person. Like I needed that, and that inspired me even more. So, learning how to get out of my cocoon. That's another lesson.
Yeah. Well, a cocoon is essentially another word for comfort zone. It absolutely is. So one question I do have too with you were doing these shoots and you were booked out, and from outsiders' perspective, you were doing awesome because you were making money. Do you think it's difficult? And I've heard a lot of different entrepreneurs talk about this of setting aside creative time, because it's difficult for them to make that decision as a business owner because it's not necessarily a revenue activity.
It ain't.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though it can pay dividends in expanding your revenue and expanding just your ultimate joy of doing the work. But do you think that had a little bit to do with, getting in this routine?
It definitely feels like you don't have time because you have to survive, right? You can't just go without money. But here's the thing we have. If you don't, and you shut down like I did, and your body forces you to stop, you're going to be broke anyway. Like you might as well. True. Because I mean, like I said, like I stopped from May until October. And although I was fine from May until October, what do you think that did for my pipeline client-wise? If I wasn't advertising, if I wasn't marketing, if I wasn't working to book new people, what do you think happened? I didn't have anybody in my pipeline. It got quiet.
Mm-hmm.
So I went from having, all this feeling like I got all this success and money's coming in to, oh shoot, the way my bank account is set up, I cannot do that right now. So you're going to be forced to do it one way or another. So you might as well look in your calendar and plan for that time. You have more control over it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus it just hits you and you don't have a plan. I plan to at least I'm gonna try to do it and small and then try to add to it as I go, right? So I plan to plan creative time for myself at least twice a year. And then if I can do it more, then I will add more. But I'm going to start off small first because I don't want to overwhelm myself.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I am asking for people to sign up for a creative project that I've had on my brain for at least the past 3 years. And I never did it because I felt like I didn't have time because I was busy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been on my mind to do, and I'm trying, I was trying to figure out a way to do it as well. That was another thing that was keeping me from doing it. How do I do it? I don't know how to do it. But if I set aside the creative time, take my time with it, and let these people know, the people that I choose to collab with in this project, hey, this is not like my normal sessions. I'm trying to figure things out. If you can be patient with me through that and realize that this is just strictly creative, then and rock with me on it, it'll be fine. That takes the pressure off to try to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it more fun because I'm taking my time to be creative rather than, okay, I got to knock this person out because it's a part of this process that I got to get them through,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Do you want to talk? Because I love the idea of the project. Do you want
Mm-hmm.
to talk a little bit about what the project's about?
I don't want to give too much away.
Just
So
a little bit of a teaser, a little teaser.
so I haven't quite figured out a name for it. I'm kind of stuck between a couple of names for it. But a lot of people right now know me for, when they come get a photo shoot with me, they get the hair and the makeup and the celebrity, I feel beautiful photo shoot treatment, which I love. I absolutely love. I think everybody should get that done. The men too,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
not just the women need to be coming in feeling beautiful. Men are beautiful as well. Y'all need to come in and have a day too. But this one is more of organic, who you are at your core, without the labels, without the hair and makeup. Like I want to focus on the things that we consider supposedly our flaws, right? So one of the things that I'm constantly looking at all the time is I have moles on my face that have popped up ever since I was pregnant. My son is 11 now, and I feel like every year I got more moles, right? And then my hair is thinning, which a lot of people have wondered why I've started wearing wraps a lot, and I'm hiding my hair. My hair is thinning in the top. I see that as a flaw or something that is new. Maybe it's not a
Mm-hmm.
flaw, but it's something I'm not used to yet. And I'm struggling to get used to it, which can be felt in a negative way sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to photograph that though. Maybe not the hair yet. I'm still dealing with that. I'm still but the moles, I want to photograph that up close. I
Mm-hmm.
want to highlight them and see them as positive, as beautiful, as part of me.
Mm-hmm.
If someone comes to me and says, well, a flaw that I feel is my weight, I want to take photos of all the rolls, all the biscuits. I want to take photos of the cellulite, the dimples, because it's art. It's beautiful. Like whether you feel like it or not, it's you. If you're a mom and you don't like your weight and you have a kid that comes and hugs you. They find comfort in your arms around them, your body heat, the way you smell. My mom is bald. She was balding, right? And she's always had a issue with growing. I think it's alopecia she
Oh,
had,
yeah. Hmm.
and she just finally decided to cut all her hair off. So she's bald. My son, every time he gets close to her, she might be on the computer or something. He walks up to her and he puts his hand on her head and just rubs her head.
Oh.
And she's like, "Why are you putting your head?" And he's like, "I just love rubbing your head," right? But she could have seen that as like, I'm bald. It's, but for her grandchild, it's one of his favorite things.
Hmm.
So let's highlight that. Why are we looking at that like, oh, you know?
Yeah.
I want to do a project that highlights what we think are the flaws and turn them into the beautiful things about you. So it's been a little hard to find people because I've been getting, I don't know if I'm wording it right or not, but when I put the request out, I'm getting people who have told me that they believe they had a flaw and they've done something to correct it in some way. And I'm like, but if it's gone, I can't exactly,
Hmm. Yeah.
I can't take a photo of it. It was gone. You changed it. That's more of like a before and after, which is fine as well. But I'm wanting people who are like not scared to. Okay, fine. Let me be vulnerable and let me highlight this.
I mean, that's really tough. It's really tough because in essence, a flaw is in a person's brain, a flaw is something to hide and to not talk about. Yeah. And to not pay any, bring attention to and stuff. Like I have this thing by my ear. I've had it ever since I was born that my parents called it an angel kiss, but it's essentially like some extra cartilage that for a really, really long time I was going to have removed. And the guy I was dating at the time was like, yeah, you should get that removed. And that guy's gone, luckily. And I've, and my husband now is like, don't, that's a unique characteristic. And I have this every time, when I put my earring on, I can feel it. And it makes me more so think about growing up being so self-conscious of it, and my parents saying, no, that's an angel kiss, that's something special to keep, it's something that's unique to you. So I think, I think, but for a lot of us, I don't, I would probably be like, oh, don't take a picture of my ear. This thing is weird looking. But even though like I've accepted it, I don't know how other people would react, to seeing it. So it can, same with our rolls and our cellulite and things like that. It's different if we've become accepting of it, but for us to put that out there. So, but I think it's an amazing project that I
Yeah.
hope people are like, get out of their comfort zone
Yes.
and get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
mean, and it could be weight, it could be your eyes, it could be your hair, it could be your skin, it could be anything. I just want to highlight it. I want to see if I can highlight it beautifully because I'm so used to, doing the other thing,
Right, right. Yeah, airbrushing it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to see how I do that.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. I'm really looking forward to seeing it and how it all comes out. And I hope you do like a gallery showing or
I would
something of
like
it.
to. And that's another thing that makes this project uncomfortable. I do want to make it an exhibit of sorts. I have no clue how to do that.
Well, I know people who do, so it's fine. We can talk later. I can introduce you to some people who have done it for their projects. And we
Awesome.
got it. Yeah, that's no problem. We got that
Awesome.
figured out. So I would love for you to now that I hope a lot of people listening are like, this woman is amazing. I want her to just take me and just take awesome photos of me and remind me that I'm fabulous. So how do people connect with you and potentially reach out to work with you?
So I'm Javon Renee Portraits everywhere, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Like it's just Javon Renee Portraits or just Javon Renee sometimes. The best way is to go directly to my website. all of the information that you need to know is there. And if you need more information, there's a button you can click to book a complimentary consultation where we literally schedule a phone call and we can talk about it. Just talk. We just gonna have a chat. You can choose to move forward or not. I think that people send me messages. People do. Facebook messages, Instagram messages, but the best way is definitely through my website.
Okay. That is a good boundary too, because as an entrepreneur, you get reached out to all the ways.
Yes.
I agree. Through a website is always a lot easier.
Helps me keep up with everything and what
Yep.
I need to follow up with and what I don't.
Yep.
Because when you get all the messages, you're like, was that Instagram or Facebook?
Exactly. It's like, what platform did they reach out
Was
to
it an
me on?
email or was it a text message?
Right.
The website. You send me. You click that button. The website goes directly to my customer management system, and I know what I need to do and what I don't need to do. Otherwise, if it's just chat or learn more, because I'm always interested in answering questions, giving advice, especially when it comes to building a business or a photography business. Yeah, a message is fine.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Jasmine, I feel like we just had a journey talking about the journey. This was awesome. There's so many topics.
I was worried that we were getting all over the place because I can kind of do that.
No,
I told you.
that's okay.
Geminis, we are just a little loopy.
You keep friend groups interesting. That's what I love, having a Gemini type of personality in a friend group. It ensures that the conversation is never dull.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we can't do dull conversations, remember?
No.
We check out.
No. Can't do it. I mean, I'm not a Gemini, but I can't do it either. Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This episode of She Speaks is brought to you by our amazing partners at First Horizon Bank. She Speaks is produced, edited, and scored by the very talented Travis Tench at Oak Hill Audio. If you loved the episode you just heard and want to support Let Her Speak's mission of elevating real women's stories, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share at Let Her Speak USA. Together, we will make our voices heard.